We'll call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. All members are present. Approval of the agenda. We have one addition, 7F. Approve appointment of Public Works seasonal employee. Is there any other changes? Council? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with that change?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Shellen,
I'll second.
second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes, May 17th, 2023 regular meeting. You've received them in your packet. Is there any changes, corrections, or clarification needed within those minutes? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 17th meeting?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Diane, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Joe. Call this question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. This now brings us to our public open forum. All comments are limited to 3 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to speak to the council? State your name and address, please, and
Good evening, Mayor Stone and council members. My name is Nathan Smith. I live with my wife, Diane Smith, at our home at 721 8th Street South, Sauk Center. I come before you this evening to discuss recreational cannabis retail sales. It is my intent to open a 100% veteran-owned recreational cannabis dispensary. I am a member of the American Legion, the County Council Commander for West Stearns County, and the 6th District Membership Director for the Legion. As a veteran, I will be bringing the same drive and dedication to my business as I did in the military. I have heard that the City Council will be placing requirements on zoning as well as distance requirements from schools, daycares, and public parks. While I'm sure schools and public parks will not be moving anytime soon, I am worried about daycares. It is my hope, once I open up, that someone who does not approve of my business will not be able to establish a daycare within the required distance just to shut me down and force my business to move. I know there is a lot of preconceived myths and ideas about marijuana. I think it might be beneficial for the city of Sauk Center to hold a town square where we can have input from the citizens, our citizens, and we'll also answer any questions and can explain any misconceptions to the general public or City Hall. Under the current legislation, I qualify for a social equity license due to being a service-connected disabled veteran. I'm wondering if the City Council will also be offering any type of incentives for the social equity program the state is offering. Through the state, they are offering state grants to businesses and considering licensing applications first before the general public. Social equity applicant is someone who was convicted of certain marijuana crimes or a dependent of someone that was convicted prior to May 1st, 2023, or a service-connected disabled veteran, a veteran who lost honorable status due to an offense involving marijuana possession or sale of marijuana, as well as if your family median income did not exceed 80% of the statewide median family income. In closing, I'd like to thank you for your time and allowing me to speak.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak? Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Public open forum is now closed. We have no public hearings. We will now move on to reports and presentations. City engineer report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll give you a brief update on the projects out there. First of all, it starts in reverse chronological order. So Aerosmith Edition is finally finished. We've gotten their pay request signed back for the final. That will be coming before you at the next meeting. I just got it today, so it was too late for this one. So we'll have that for next meeting, and that project will then be behind us. So we take that one off the books. The Industrial Park South, there's doing some punch list kind of items out there, replacing some curbs, some settlements, those kinds of things. Got to do some reseeding. The lift station's actually officially going to be started up tomorrow. Hopefully everything will go well on that. Quite sure they do have some leakage, groundwater leakage in the system. Once it gets pumped down, we'll be evaluating that closely and getting that taken care of before we officially take it over as a city. So we'll be going through that pretty carefully. But I'm quite sure that there's some groundwater leakage that's coming into the system from someplace. I suspect mostly manholes because the pipe stretches were air tested, so I don't suspect that. It's probably manholes themselves. So we'll keep you informed on that, but we won't accept it until such time as that leakage is brought down to where it meets our requirements, which is pretty stringent. So that's where that one's at. The completion date is coming up on that one, so hopefully they'll get everything done, including the final lift of paving. So, but they've got some work to do. So hopefully they are attacking it. We'll see how it goes, but hopefully it'll get done out there. Last year's project, capital improvements project, it's kind of punch list items. There has been an issue that's come up as it relates to, you might recall there was some driveway aprons that had some spalling issues with them. They were replaced, and they were replaced with a concrete that the testing results that do not meet requirements. So after some discussion, we are doing a couple cores out there, 3 of them to be exact. I'm going to retest those cores themselves, and if they, once again, do not make standards, they'll have to tear everything up and redo it again. So we'll see where that goes, but that is one issue that's come up out there. Everything else is in pretty good shape. There is one area that's a sidewalk and where there's a couple of steps, going up into somebody's home, and that's going to be redone as well because there's a little bit of a low spot there, and it can get some ice there in the wintertime. And then paving will be coming up here in a couple of weeks yet, so that's where that one's at. The author's edition, they're essentially still in that lull I think I kind of talked about last time. They will be starting up with dewatering for the sanitary sewer next week, and intention would be the following week to actually start pipe work out there. So that's where that project is at. So I think that covers them all. Any questions you might have for me?
Questions?
Approximately how many driveways was it that is affected on the punch list? Approximately how many driveways?
I don't remember off the top of my head. It's a handful, though. Yeah, it's at least a handful out there. So hopefully, if the compression tests on the actual cores come out okay, then we'll decide what we're going to do at that point. But, we had 2 failing tests. It'd be different if one of them failed out of the 2, but they both failed. One pretty significant failure. The other was a little bit closer. So, it's a local supplier. I'm hopeful that we can come to a resolution, but, if it needs to be replaced, it needs to be replaced. So.
Okay. Any other question?
You said paving a couple weeks. Help me understand a little bit more what does a couple weeks mean? You got a date?
We don't
in
have
mind?
a specific from them yet. It's Mark Lee Sand and Gravel is the paving contractor for that. They are a sub, so it is ultimately the general contractor's responsibility, but things have always been a little bit slow trying to get through that particular item with that particular contractor. So we're working through that. Unfortunately, they're also doing South Industrial Park. So the 2 of them will probably be done at the same time roughly, but we don't know anything about when that will be at this moment.
So what's their date that they should have that completed by in their contract?
It's mid-ish. I don't have it right in front of me here, but it is June. If they don't get it completed, then liquidated damages will be enforced.
Okay, so end of June.
It's in June. I will get back to you. I'll let Vicki know what that is, and she could let you guys know what that date is actually for both projects. I believe it's the 16th for the Industrial Park South.
So,
But I'll have to check on this one for you.
so end of next week then.
Yes, coming up quick on that one. So,
Okay.
okay.
Also, on Second Street, watering, it's been dry all spring and that new grass and everything. I've had a few people say that nothing's being done about watering. How often are they supposed to be watering it, or
They have to water until it gets up and growing. That's their responsibility, yep.
what's that? 2 times a week? Okay,
They had the truck out the other day,
did they?
last
Okay.
week, late last week and early this week, I think they're out.
It's tough when it's this warm and dry to kind of keep up, but you kind of dump on it, but especially when it's also sandy soils, it drains away pretty quick.
Right, okay. Just a question that I,
Yep,
anything else? Questions? Thank you.
thank you.
Park Board report?
So the Park Board met last night in their regular session. They had a few ongoing items. One is the fountain in Sinclair Lewis Park, trying to get those final costs wrapped up, and they'll bring that back to the board. They are recommending the appointment of the campground manager that is on the agenda tonight. For the memorial tree project where they're working on, rather than having the in-ground monuments for donated trees, to have a mural with tree leaves on the side of the building in the park, we do now have an artist. So she's going to be doing some recommending on what that will look like and how much color we want and all of that. So that'll be coming forward. We did receive a request from the seasonal campers to have a different internet provider or provide the internet. So we're just in the process now of obtaining or figuring out what that might cost to see what it would be. We've been with the current contract for 7 years, and we're looking to see if there might be a better service to get faster speed or whatever we can provide. We were doing that at their request. Also, the seasonal campers were also requesting to allow early arrivals in the spring prior to May 1st, and the Park Board felt that they did not want to budge from that because of the time that it's needed by Public Works to get the campground ready in the spring. So May 1st is May 1st. And so we have the one action item tonight, and that is to recommend approval of the new campground manager.
Questions?
Was that a local artist for that tree memorial?
Yes.
Any other questions or concerns? Okay, we go on to EDA report.
Oh, my report is that that meeting has been postponed. I should have taken that off the
Should have
agenda.
taken it off, okay. Then we'll move on to action items. 7A, approve cannabinoid license for Winters.
Through the prior council action, we'd adopted an ordinance requiring licensing to sell the THC cannabinoid products. This is the gummies, the edibles, and the edibles, the gummies, I guess I should say. Was sent to all persons and companies trying to sell the product and an application to apply. We now received an application and fee from Winters Family Chiropractic PA at 1008 Main Street South. He did pay the appropriate fee, and we did the background check. So the action requested to is approve the request of cannabinoid license to Winters Family Chiropractic PA.
Questions, concerns? Do I have a motion to approve the request?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Diane, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7B, appoint campground manager.
At the May 4th council meeting, if you recall, that Fred Tice was appointed as a campground manager. On May 10th, he submitted his resignation and said it wasn't what he expected, and so that left the position vacant, and so we had been looking for a new manager, utilizing the backup manager and then city staff to keep everything going. So I reached out to several campers who had posted resumes on workcamper.com. They actually have a database called the Awesome Applicant Database, and I went through and started downloading and contacting them. And my number one choice actually first declined the position because they'd taken something else, and then they called me last week and said that one didn't work out and they wanted to come here. They drove here that day, and they are now ensconced down in the campground. So we're hoping for their appointment by you tonight. They have 8 years of experience And they actually came for an in-person interview right away, so we're very happy to have them. So we are requesting to appoint Ted and Andrea Hand as the campground managers for 2023.
Questions, concerns?
So does this completely takes up both the weekend and the weekly? So they'll be doing weekday and weekend? Or will we still have the weekend?
Right, the backup
Backup.
managers will still be there, and we're working out a schedule for how many days they want to work. We're right now looking like a 5-day on, 2-day off
Okay.
schedule, but that's subject to change as we move through the season, because the backup managers have already put in quite a few days just working in May.
Okay,
So we're working that through, and it seems to be that we've already come kind of an agreement on what the schedule will look like, but there'll be changes throughout the summer, I'm sure.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to appoint Ted and Andrea Hand as the campground managers?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Joe, second by Shallen. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7C, approve holiday, Juneteenth.
So as you know, the state legislature at the last moment moved the effective date of the newly declared holiday on June 19th to be effective June 19th, 2023. It was originally anticipated that it would be effective August 1st and therefore would begin in 2024. Because the effective date is almost immediately, the union reached out to present an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, that they want to be sure that the city will be offering this as a paid holiday. And they're suggesting for 2023 only because we're in a new contract to be negotiated in 2024. Now, we can either accept an MOU with that language that it's a paid holiday, or we can do nothing and then we automatically cannot be open, but it doesn't address the pay portion of it. What the statute said is that we should treat it as a holiday, the same as other holidays. So it leaves a lot of interpretation out there. Some people say, well, it's a holiday, we're closed. That's how we're treating it. And the union is saying, but it should be paid. And so I looked to other cities, and some are saying if you can use PTO if you want to get paid, and others are offering it as a paid holiday. So we're sitting kind of in the middle there of how you want to proceed. You know, whether you want to proceed with it is a holiday, and we will be closed. The issue is, will it be paid or not? And that's the issue that the union is pushing, that it should be paid. So that's where we are.
Comments?
It is a federal holiday, marked as a federal holiday, correct?
It's a federal holiday, yes, and then now the state enacted it for the state as well, so we're required to observe it.
My question is, do we handle just holidays and federal holidays differently? Like, are certain ones paid or not paid?
We have, well, like Columbus Day is a holiday, but we don't have that holiday as a paid holiday,
Right.
so.
My concern is with the unions, this has been talked about for how long, and now just because it's a rush to get this done, to me, if they want to get paid, they use PTO.
I agree.
I feel like we're close enough to our next union negotiations that we can observe this last year as it stands and leave that on the table to discuss towards the next one. Observe it this year, but I think leave the holidays as they were in the original agreement,
As far as paid versus?
as far as paid versus unpaid.
Right. It's one day.
Right.
And if this one day, if we don't pay them, is going to affect how they're going to negotiate with us, I'll lose respect for the unions real quick. But this is, I think, just being closed, and if you want to get paid, you use your time, your time that you've got accumulated.
And the reason that they had, like, to comment on what you had just mentioned about the last minute, it was the legislature at the last minute decided to make it effective this year. We thought it wouldn't be till next year and it would fall in line with our negotiations.
Right.
So they kind of slipped that one in like the 11th hour.
I think politicians have enough holidays with pay. I'm not going to vote for this. No way.
So what other holidays are not paid then besides Columbus Day? it like
I think
President's,
Columbus Day
MLK,
is the
and,
only one.
okay, so obviously, yeah, there's certain ones that are observed and not observed, so.
President's Day, is that one, I mean,
That's, yeah, President's Day, Martin Luther King,
Memorial Day, Labor Day.
Memorial Day, 4th of July.
the rest.
Yeah, the rest of them are, okay. I just didn't know if there's certain ones, I know. There's certain ones that we were not closed at the bank, so I was just wondering if it's similar things there, so.
So what's the council's wishes?
I'll make the motion that we, if they want a holiday, it's on their own dime. Is
Okay.
that worded correctly?
Well, they'll have the day off, but they
Yeah.
just,
Be on their own.
but they'll be on their own, they
Yeah.
won't be getting paid
Won't be a
for it.
paid holiday.
Unless they
Right.
use, okay.
Yep.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Joe. Any other discussion?
I guess my thing, I mean, I think there are enough paid federal holidays that having this one this year be a paid one, I wouldn't have an issue with it. So I'm probably going to be voting against, but I just wanted to clarify my position, so.
It's definitely a negotiation situation for the next 3-year contract
Right.
that we have. So this one day, I don't think would
Right.
make that big of a difference.
I just think with the legislature kind of putting this in last minute, we had our plans, our understanding, and, for them to change it and
Right.
now expect it to be paid, knowing that, you're basically setting the table that it's automatically going to be that in the negotiations then. So I think a last minute thing, we just observe, this is the plan, this is the way it was going to be, and that's what we go with is my
The
position.
one thing is with an MOU, working with the unions long enough, they've never done an MOU this fast to turn around ever. So why would all of a sudden they expect us to do it on this one? So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 4 in favor, none against, or 1 against, sorry.
That's okay.
7D, approve updated sales tax collection agreement.
So we currently have an agreement with the state of Minnesota whereby the state collects sales tax on behalf of the city and then remits the funds to the city on a scheduled basis. We get 2 checks for each month of collection. So we get like an advance, and then we get a settle up, and then an advance and a settle up. And then also they keep a percent or a formula that they use in order to keep or retain their share. So they have recommended a new contract where they're just going to remit the funds one time a month, and also that they're going to change their rate for collection just a flat percentage, and that flat percentage is 1.35%. In the city's, that actually works in the city's favor, because it's kind of loaded on the front end of what you have to pay in the old formula. So we don't collect as much as a lot of cities, so it benefits us to go to the 1.35%. The other thing that's in there is when we're done with the sales tax, so in 25 years, or would be 21 years from now, those of you that are still here, when they keep the last collections of money and they keep it until the appeal period is over, and I think it's 3.5 years, that people can appeal their sales tax payments, like businesses that pay sales tax in. If they appeal that, there has to be money to get a refund. So they'll hang on to our money for 3.5 years after the end of our collection period. Those are really the only 3 things that are changing in this contract. So, the one time a month makes no difference to us. We're setting it aside for the Highway 71 project. The 1.35% actually benefits us. Keeping the money at the end, I understand why they're doing it. It's better than us having to mail them a check if there's an appeal. So what we're looking to is approve the sales tax collection agreement with the Minnesota Department of Revenue.
Questions? Concerns? Do I have a motion to approve the sales tax collection agreement?
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Motion by Diane, second by Heidi. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7E, approve resolution 2023-35, airport maintenance and operation grant.
So the state of Minnesota Department of Aeronautics has presented their maintenance and operation grant contract, and you've heard us talk to that about the airport M&O. And what this is MnDOT Aeronautics reimburses the city for 75% of our expenses, of certain expenses, things like electric bills and those types of solid expenses that are used for the operation of the airport. And so quarterly, we have to apply to get reimbursed for those expenses. So the new contract is for fiscal year 2024 and 2025. And we have $47,966 that we are eligible to receive, which is $23,983 per year. So what we're looking here tonight is to approve Resolution 2023-35, entering into this contract with the State of Minnesota for Airport Maintenance and Operation Grant Number 153323.
Questions? Comments?
Is that total fairly in line with where it's been in the past? That, I know it's a percentage,
They haven't
but
changed the total amount for some years. It jumped up about 6 years ago, otherwise it's been static since then.
okay.
Any other questions or concerns? Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2023-35?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion by Shellen, seconded by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7F, approval appointment of Public Works seasonal employee.
Public Works Supervisor Ben Klink is requesting that the City Council approve the appointment of Dominic Ritter as a seasonal employee for the Public Works Department, and this would be contingent on a successful background check. So we're looking for to approval of that appointment.
Questions or concerns? Do I have a motion to approve the appointment of Dominic Ritter?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Joe, second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Unfinished business, 2023 capital improvement project / trails.
At the May 17th council meeting, the council denied the proposal to complete a rehab and construction of trails within the city at a cost of $124,000. The council asked for some alternatives more directed at streets. Staff prepared some ideas to include seal coating, full-depth rehab, and crack filling, and sent those to the city council for comment. Those items included a full-depth reclamation of the streets that were removed from the Authors Project, including Lakeview Drive, Kennecott, Hendricks, Park Lane, and Park Drive. A full-depth reclamation of 10th Street from Main to Ash and Fair Lane, that's down by John Lees Ford. A full-depth reclamation of 8th Street from Grove Lake to Getty Street. That's just on, that is on the west side of Main Street. We had the seal coating of the hospital area roads in Getty Street. These were originally a 2023 project, but were pushed back to 24 due to the nursing home construction. We had seal coating of Lake Shore and Lake Ridge from Main Street to Highway 71. Last time that was done was 2012. Seal coating of 7th Street South from Ash to 6th, or multiple crack fillings. So you were all provided with the map of those and what all the costs estimated were. If you decide to proceed with a full-depth reclamation project, we should indicate which streets and immediately call the public hearing on improvement for the assessment process, as these projects are assessed at 35%. That meeting could be held on July 5th or a special meeting if earlier. So then we did update, got some updated numbers from the spreadsheets you were given, and so that is the sheet that I gave you tonight. Lakeview Drive and Sauk Lane have an estimate of $139,050. Park Lane is $176,940. Kennecott and Hendricks, $68,850. Fairlane Drive and 10th Street, it's $210,600. 8th Street South from Getty Street to Grove Lake, $76,500. And Lakeshore Drive around the golf course, $237,600. So those are kind of taking those full-depth projects and grouping them into, what makes sense as far as logistics of where they're at. Ben and I did meet with the mayor today, kind of an impromptu meeting, and discussed each of these projects a little bit. I think when we were done, we kind of felt that the Lakeview Drive Sauk Lane project, that was the roads of these that are probably in the worst shape. So if you choose to go with a full depth, that would be the recommendation unless you feel differently. And then otherwise, we can go back to a seal coating, and I guess it's really up to you. Any funds remaining in the budget once the project is done, we would likely want to do some crack filling on some other streets. So, and I don't know, Ben is here. He came to the meeting tonight to see if you had any questions for him and where we go from here.
Vicki, on 8th Street, that street really isn't that bad. I know Ben filled a bunch of cracks up there, or little potholes up there today. That street isn't that bad, but what was I gonna say about that? Sorry. I'm wondering if we're ever gonna do anything with Getty Street from 8th up to about the equivalent of 11th, going south.
It'll come up, yeah.
Because I get complaints on that one all the time.
Yeah, and that is a full reconstruct street.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be subject to one of these projects.
Okay. This, full reconstruct, that's where you put in new sewer lines?
Sewer and water.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's what, now I understand. Thank you. Thank you, Vicki.
When we met today, in Ben's opinion, Lakeview is worse than Park Lane would be.
Okay.
And Lakeview actually, that brings us in under what we have budgeted. Kennecott and Hendricks, we kind of decided, well, it's going to be a double whammy because some of them households there are getting assessed now or will be assessed with the new addition and everything, and then to come along and do a full reclamation, they're going to get assessed for that too. So it's kind of like, I felt that those two should just be taken off and not done anything with.
I do have one other question. On 8th Street, I know eventually we've started buying up some property up there to widen that street. And I just want to be sure if we put in the new full depth reclamation, that we're not going to be tearing this out, assessing these people, and then tearing it out, the following year to widen the street and then assess them again. That's the only thing I want to be sure of.
I know we had talked about, and we did acquire some property there to have a
Yeah.
wider right-of-way. In order to do an alignment with the rest of 8th Street, the other side of the street really is where there'd also probably
Right,
be
right.
some changes. I can't say when we would do a widening of that street. I guess that's something that would have to go on the CIP and the full council would discuss
Okay.
at a later date.
Thank you. I just didn't want to wind up doing it twice.
So,
Nobody likes that.
No, of course not. Thank you.
yeah, so basically, when we met, we were thinking just Lakeview Drive. And we're staying under budget. We'll use the extra money for seal coating and crack
Yeah,
fill
yeah.
if we got it.
Yeah.
But it is up to the council on what you want to do. Or you can just not do any full reclamation and
Do we want to, if there is any additional fund, direct in which seal coating we would choose in a hierarchical order from what's listed here as well? So it doesn't have to come back to the table?
well, then you'd look at your map and then that would be the blue.
Yeah, from from this list though, so we've got 4,
Yeah.
5, and 6.
Right.
So I'd agree with the Lakeview Drive, Sauk Lake, and then the hospital areas, since we pushed those back from the 2023, start with those. Since the nursing home is done now, we can move as intended. If there's additional funding.
Yeah.
You
Well,
mean
if it-
switch from, rather than doing crack filling, do the seal coating instead? Is that what you're suggesting?
And not do any reclamation?
We have it
I think she
listed
was gonna-
separately as seal coating.
Right,
Right.
right, but I mean, we were talking about if we do this project, the balance of funds could go to crack filling, and you're saying the balance would go to seal coating?
That's what I
instead?
thought was discussed.
Yeah.
As a
We
recommendation.
did talk about that
Okay.
before as well. I don't know, I could ask Ben too, what thoughts about getting a seal coater in the timing.
Sure.
I think the one challenge would be, if you chose that Lakeview Drive project, you're gonna spend, 140 is estimated, it could turn to 145, and then you're left with about 15,000, which isn't gonna do a lot of seal coating, so I would
Sure.
like to take that and just focus on crack filling.
Okay.
I think that'd be the best use of
Okay.
those funds, so.
And so based on the proposed projects, your feel is that the Lakeview Sauk Lane is the priority for of the
Full depth
proposed projects? Well,
Yeah.
of all of them in general too?
It's certainly a good use of that funds, it fits that budget number, which I think is important, and it would be nice to tie that in since we did fix the rest of Hickman. It would be good to, I mean, we did intend on doing that with the project, so it's clearly needed.
One of the things that I kind of leaned at toward, is Lakeview Drive, if we do it, basically, then we're kind of out of there with
Right.
construction. People in that whole neighborhood have been putting up with something for the last 3 years. So it's kind of like, okay, let's just get this done and walk away and let these people have a breather without going any farther with it. So that was my idea where to go with it. Any other thoughts?
I think dollar-wise, Matt, would make sense there. I think that, Kennecott doesn't make any sense to work on that, knowing that phase 2 is gonna come
Right.
in there not too far off. Hendricks, I guess that could have been done with the project, but that would have been, like you said, a big hit with assessments for everybody there, but.
Right, there's some of them properties on Hendricks, and then the future, some of them on Kennecott, they're gonna see some, assessments.
Right.
So to go in and do a full reclamation on those two
Yeah.
streets and then turn around and put second phase in and nail them, we're gonna hit them again, and that's not fair. So, or at least in my opinion, it's not.
What did we decide, Vicky, we changed our full reconstruct assessment amount last year, I believe, didn't we? 35, okay.
So right now, if we decide to go with the Lakeview project, then we would go out for bids and set the public hearing for seeing how quick we can get this done. Hopefully the timing would work out well.
I was just gonna ask that question, would you anticipate we'd be able to find somebody to take on the project right now, or?
I think so, yeah. It'll be tight towards the end. I mean, by the time you get the bids and everything back, and you're pushing the end of summer before someone's gonna get in, because obviously their schedule is probably pretty booked, but we don't know until we try.
The only concern I got now is if, and I just popped into my head was, okay, we put the second lift on Hickman Drive, and the only way to get to Lakeview to do the milling and anything, we're bringing in heavy equipment and tar trucks to redo it over brand-new tar. So,
But whenever you decide to do the road, you're gonna be in that situation.
Yeah.
that's
so
true. Yeah, but this is fresh.
it's
Because they
important.
plan on, if they go by what Keith says, they're gonna have done by the end of next week. So,
Ben, what's your feeling on 8th Street South? What's your feeling on that road?
Not as high as priority as the other ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one would last if we bump that off the list this year. We
Mhm.
could always put it on next year.
Yep.
That would be my recommendation, but
so what's the council's wishes?
I'd agree with the Lakeview Drive Sauk Lane.
Okay. As the only one. And then the rest go towards seal.
Focus on crack
Crack filling,
crack sealing, yep.
okay. We have a motion to do full reclamation on Lakeview Drive, Sauk Lane, and the balance of the budget would be going toward crack filling. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Heidi, second by Shallon. Is there any other discussion?
I guess just one piece that I'll add, I mean, as we start to see some of these dollar amounts get higher and higher, I guess we'll just have to really take a good look at, when it comes time for budgeting time next time, to really see where things are at and try and make sure that we can figure stuff out, so.
And you got a couple months.
I know. I just, to be able to think about some of these things as you see these projects that are coming up.
They come up fast.
Right.
And then we have to make the decisions based on funds that we didn't anticipate to be
Right.
30 to 40% higher than what we had originally thought it could be.
No doubt.
Right.
So this 139.50 is the estimate for the total project. That's not the 65.35 calculation or anything, right? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. No other comments? I have a motion and a second. We'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 8B, Iris
Just
proclamation.
back up a minute. Do you want to set the hearing date? Set
Oh.
this included, setting the
Oh,
hearing date for
yes.
July 5th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Public hearing date, July 5th. No vacations for council.
Good.
Okay, 8B, Iris proclamation.
The Infants Remembered in Silence, which is called IRIS, they've requested the city recognize National Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day on October 15th by issuing a proclamation. I did put in your packet some information about their organization and also the proposed resolution or proclamation that they hope that we would pass. And we have done this in the past as well. And so I told her I'd bring that forward again. And if you choose to issue the proclamation, then you should do it by motion.
Okay. Comments?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Diane to approve the proclamation. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Joe. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. New business, legislative items.
There were several items of interest that impact cities were enacted with the state legislature. They enacted a paid family and medical leave law that's employee and employee funded through a payroll tax deduction. It'd be similar to unemployment, but it would be able to use for birth of a baby. It could be used to take care of an elderly parent that's ill. It could be used for multiple things. There's 2 different types of leave. Either one is 12 weeks, but together you can't use more than 20 in a calendar year. The other type of leave is it's called safe and sober, or not safe and sober, safe leave. So people that are living in a shelter or something, maybe you could get that. They changed the early voting law. It's now 2 weeks prior to the election day, including 2 Saturdays and 1 Sunday. So we'll be busy here on election day doing that. And the other thing that they changed when people do come in for early voting, before it was kind of like almost like absentee, we had to fill out the application. Now we'll have the poll pad, you'll just sign it, vote, put it in the ballot box, done. So that'll be easier for us as staff to do. They passed the adult use cannabis. It's effective August 1st, 2023 for possession, growing, and expungement of marijuana convictions. They're expecting an 18-month delay in licensing for retail sales. And that is because the state has created a new Office of Cannabis, and they expect to hire 400 employees to put this program together. And once they are ready to issue the license, then we have to register that. And prior to that registration, that's when we will have to have some ordinance in place within the next 18 months. Things that the city is allowed to do is we can limit the number of dispensaries, the location, the locations they're permitted, and the fees. And unlike where we used to have municipal liquor stores and can no longer do that, or we can have a municipal dispensary. So if you feel like we want to do that, so that would be interesting. The LGA formula was amended. We will see a little bit more in our LGA in 2024 than in prior years. We have a new one-time public safety aid per capita. This is for police, fire, ambulance, sirens, et cetera. We are expecting a payment in December of about $200,000 from that fund. One thing they have is no armored vehicles, no tear gas, and you can't build a police station with it. That's their things that they can't do. So now we'll have our public safety departments fighting over that money. There's multiple tax law changes for property taxes, renter's credit, market value exclusions, TIF laws, truth in taxation, a whole plethora of tax law changes. They did fund that Greater Minnesota infrastructure projects. So as soon as that information comes out, I'll be on top of that very quickly to see if perhaps maybe phase 2 is part of that. It's too late to get it for phase 1, but it's a possibility for phase 2. They did appropriate safe routes to school for infrastructure. Right after, I think, the last meeting, I said, only for planning. They never do infrastructure. This year, they put in infrastructure, so that's good. One thing they did for zoning is that the cities must now allow micro units on religious properties. So these are little, like, tiny houses. As long as they're on a chassis, religious properties can have them, and we can't disallow them for sheltering homeless, volunteers, that type of thing. They established that small cities assistance account for roads. This is for cities under 5,000 population, so we will see some kind of appropriation for roads for that. They funded
public safety reimbursement for medical insurance provided to disabled officers. And as you know, that we have a disabled officer that we pay for his health insurance for. They did have a fund that they had a program that seldom got funded. Now they're proposing that those stay fully funded to help cities that are in that situation. They have some new state funding for trees. It's similar to the old Dutch elm initiative many, many years ago. It's not the emerald ash borer thing. This is like the Dutch elm one, so we'll learn a little bit more about that. It's called Relief Minnesota, RELEAF. And then you know that Juneteenth is now a legal holiday, and they changed some things to open meeting law to allow up to 3 times a year to you attend a public meeting from your home or somewhere if you need to be there, and it doesn't have to be just in an emergency. So those are just very few of the items that are in a huge legislative session that happened this year, and these are just ones that impact cities, and I'm sure as we go through, there'll be many more. So just a short update on that. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. Otherwise, they'll be coming to you as things happen.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. We'll move on to our consent agenda. We got a schedule of claims, unpaid claims of $132,837.09 for a total of the same. We have resolution number 2023-36, accepting contributions of $119.10 from the men's card playing group to be allocated to the senior center. And we have $750 from the Sauk Center Lions Club to be allocated to the outdoor skating rink, and $72 value on a 6 Cuddle Bear and book from Kyle and Brittany Hellerman to be allocated to the ambulance department. And on behalf of the city and the council, I want to thank those people for their donations. Temporary extension of premise permit and road closure for Sinclair Lewis Days. From Main Street stoplights to Elm Street from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. and closed 1 block from Main to Oak from 6 a.m. to 3 a.m. Eric Kellerman from Next Door Bar has requested that permit. Also, the partial closure of Oak Street from Sinclair Lewis Avenue up to the alley on both sides of the street till 4 p.m. for the car show. The car show, street dance, road closure permit will be sent to Jody Tech at the county after the council approval. And another request from Eric Kellerman doing business as Next Door Bar for temporary extension of premise permits for a 14th anniversary party with music on July 29th, 2023 in the back parking lot next door and food shelf from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. Is there any questions about the consent agenda? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi,
I'll second.
second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. 5 in favor, none against. We have no informational items. This brings us to the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Shallen,
I'll second.
seconded by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 5 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.